Welcome to Health Students Watching. In our lesson today, we're going to be reviewing for our test in our next lesson. We're going to be reviewing pages 55 through 78, and as we do so, we're starting here looking at our teeth. You can see that there are several different types of teeth that we have. Tell me the types of teeth that are in the front. These bite and cut. Dev?
Incisors.
Good. What do we call the teeth beside them? They have 1 point. Gage?
Cuspids.
Yes, the cuspids. What do we call the teeth beside those? They have 2 points. Anna?
Bicuspids.
Bicuspids. Which teeth in the back help to grind your food? Aiden? The molars. At this time, our girls may come to line up, and then our boys may come to line up. Kathleen Lights, our scorekeepers, are coming as well. They're going to help our rocket ships travel through the galaxy. So our first scorekeeper, Adriana, for the girls' team, is going to use the red rocket, and she's going to go from the start into the center of our spiral galaxy. And then our boys' scorekeeper, using the blue rocket ship, is going to be Jackson, also starting at the start planet and working his way into the inside of our spiral galaxy. Once they reach the inside, each team will earn a point. We'll see how many points each team can get. Students watching, you see if you can answer quickly and correctly as well. First two contestants step to the middle, face the audience, give us your answers as quickly as you remember. Where should meats be stored?
Refrigerator or freezer.
I'll give it to Karsten. Refrigerator is correct, or freezer. What should you do to fruits and vegetables before eating them?
Wash them.
Girls get that one next too. What do fruits and vegetables lose the longer you store them?
Vitamins.
Girls have it. For proper food storage, the fridge temperature should be at what?
35 to 40.
Yes, good, Tyra. 35 to 40 next too. You should not eat food that has been left out for longer than how many hours?
2 hours.
Wait for me to finish. 2 hours is correct. What live and multiply at room temperature?
Germs.
Ty. Tell me one way that sickness spreads.
Touching stuff.
Both of you are correct, and since you both have several correct answers, both rocket ships may move next too. Tell me one way that germs enter your body.
Touching.
Yes. Well, let's try that again. We know that sickness is spread through touching, but how does that germ get into your body?
Through a cut.
Yes, I will say a cut, break in the skin. Boys have it next to it. Would be mouth or nose would be the other. How long should you wash your hands for?
20 seconds.
20 seconds. Boys have it next to. What should you always do when you cough or sneeze?
7 minutes.
Both of you are correct. Both rockets may move next to. What word means to identify a type of illness?
Diagnose.
Diagnose is correct. Girls have it next to. What are germs that cause illness? Tell me one. Students watching?
Bacteria.
Yes, bacteria would be one. Girls have it. The other would be a virus next to. Who began the modern nursing profession? Students watching? It would be Florence Nightingale. No points next to. What prevents illness?
Touching.
Not just touching things. There are going to be times when you will have to touch something. Dev, do you have an answer? Students watching? It would be keeping things clean. No points here next to. How often should you shower in hot weather?
Every day.
Boys have it next to. Taking regular baths or showers is good what?
Hygiene.
Tie, both teams may move. What should you drink lots of if you have a cold?
Water.
Yes, I'll give it to both teams, or liquids. When you are sick, you should get plenty of what?
Refresh.
Boys have it next to. We're thinking through our teeth again. Which teeth grind your food?
Molars.
Molars, boys have it. Which teeth have 2 points, tear and crush?
Bicuspids.
Boys next to. Which teeth have 1 point and tear your food?
Cuspids.
Girls next to. Which teeth bite and cut?
Incisors.
Incisors, girls next to. What are adult teeth called?
Permanent teeth.
Permanent teeth, boys have it next to. What are baby teeth called?
Primary.
Boys have it next to. What are the small holes in your teeth caused by sugars and acids in your mouth?
Cavities.
Cavities is correct. Both teams may move. Wait for me to finish. What is a sticky film of harmful germs that forms on your teeth?
Plaque.
Both teams may move. Right. Tell me the name of the doctor who examined your eyes.
Optometrist.
Optometrist. Girls have it next to. What could you damage by sticking something into your ear?
Eardrum.
Wait for me to finish. New question. Washing your hands before you eat will prevent what? Germs. Boys have it next too. Thinking about first aid. What do we call help given immediately after someone has been hurt?
First aid.
Boys have it. What do we call the injuries that do not require an immediate doctor's visit? Wait for me to finish. It is minor injuries. New question. What do we call injuries that do require an immediate doctor's visit?
First aid emergencies.
First aid emergency. Girls have it next too. What is the pulling in and up on the abdomen to remove an object causing choking? What maneuver? Students watching? Heimlich maneuver. No points here. Next too. What is the number to call for an emergency?
911.
Tybo team's a point. Next too. In RICE, what does I stand for?
Rest. Ice pack.
ICE. Girls have it next to you. In RICE, what does E stand for?
Elevate.
Tybo team's a point next to you. In RICE, what does R stand for?
Rest.
Boys next to you. In RICE, what does C stand for?
Compress.
Good. Both teams a point. When you are compressing something, what does that mean?
Putting pressure on it.
Yes, good. Putting pressure or wrapping it. Well done. Girls have it next to you. When you elevate it, what should you elevate it above?
Heart.
Boys have it next to you. What is the most important thing to remember for electrical shock?
Don't touch the person.
Boys had it out first. Well done. Now, there are 3 things that we can do in an emergency. Tell me one.
Don't panic.
Both of you are right. Don't panic or stay calm. Both teams a point next to. Besides staying calm in an emergency, what else can you do?
Call 911.
Good. And the last would be to find help. Next to last question for this round. When you're going to compress something, what does that mean? Students watching? Wrap it or put pressure on it. No points for that one. Girls may return to your seat. Let's see how many points we have from traveling through the galaxy. Looks like we are tied, but the boys are a little bit farther through their second turn in the galaxy, so we'll have to call the boys the winners that time. Well done, boys. You may give yourself a pat on the back. Thank you, scorekeepers. Return to your seat. At this time, we're going to go around our classroom, girls team, boys team, and our scorekeepers will be at the side. So let's have Carly go keep score for the girls team and Jimmy for the boys team. And then we've got Kathleen and Gage, our first 2 up. Thinking again about healthy habits and you, what should you do to fruits and vegetables before eating them?
Wash it.
Girls have it next too. Fruits and vegetables lose vitamins the longer you store them. So what is a good place to store them so they won't lose many vitamins? Refrigerator is correct. Wait for me to finish. New question. You should not eat food that has been left out on the counter for how many hours?
2.
Right, more than 2. So boys have it. Morgan and Presley. What live and multiply at room temperature? Tybo team's a point next to. Tell me 2 ways that sickness spreads.
Touching.
And?
Coughing.
Yes, touching and coughing. Boys have it that time next to. You could also tell me sneezing would be another way. Tell me 2 ways that germs enter your body.
Mouth and nose.
Tybo team's a point. Well done. How long should you wash your hands for?
20 seconds.
Tybo team's a point next to. Asa and Madison, how long should you brush your teeth for?
2 minutes.
2 minutes. Girls have it next to. Jacob and Emily. What should you always do when you cough or sneeze?
Cover your mouth.
Both teams a point. To diagnose an illness means to do what?
Look at it.
Yes, or identify it to decide what it is. So boys have it next to. Virus and bacteria cause illness because they are what?
Illnesses.
Students watching? Germs. No points here next to. Cadence and Gage. Keeping things clean will prevent what?
Sickness.
Yes, girls have it next to Kathleen and Caden. Florence Nightingale is remembered as helping to begin the modern what?
Nursing.
I'll give it to you for nursing. It would be nursing profession. Both teams a point, Tyra and Presley. How often should you shower in hot weather?
Every day.
Boys wear hair faster next to, so Morgan and Dev. Taking regular baths or showers is practicing good what?
Hygiene.
Yes, both teams a point, or personal hygiene next to. When you have a cold, you should do what?
Drink lots of water.
Yes, or lots of liquids next to. So Una and Aiden. When you're sick, you should get plenty of what?
Rest.
Rest. Boys have it next to. So Amaya and Asa. Thinking about our teeth. What teeth bite and cut?
Incisors.
Girls wear hair faster. Madison, Jacob. What teeth grind?
Molars.
Molars. Boys have it next to. Emily and Carson. What teeth have 1 point and tear?
Cuspids.
Girls next to. What teeth have 2 points, tear, and crush?
Bicuspids.
Bicuspids. Girls have it next to. Lexi and Gage. What are baby teeth called? Students watching? Anyone? Emily?
Primary teeth.
Primary teeth. Girls have it. Cadence and Caden. What are adult teeth called? Girls next to. Let's have Kathleen and Presley. What is the sticky film of harmful germs that forms between your teeth?
Plaque.
Tybo, teams a point. Tyra and Deb. What are the small holes in your teeth caused by sugars and acids in your...
Cavities.
Girls have it. Cavities is right. Make sure you do wait for me to finish. Morgan and Jackson. What do we call a doctor who examined your eyes?
Optometrist.
Optometrist. Girls have it. Next to well done. What could you damage by sticking something into your ear? Eardrum. Boys have it. Next to Una and Asa. Washing your hands before you eat will prevent what?
Sickness.
I'll give it to both of you. It is good hygiene. It will prevent sickness, both teams a point, but it's preventing those germs from entering your body through your mouth or through your nose. Next two, so let's have Amaya and Jacob. We're thinking about first aid. What are injuries that require an immediate doctor's visit?
First aid emergency.
Boys have it. Well done. Madison and Carson. What are injuries that do not require an immediate doctor's visit?
Minor injuries.
Both teams a point. Well done. Next two. What is help given immediately after someone has been hurt?
First aid.
Girls have it next two. Let's do Anna and Gage. What is the number to call for an emergency? Yes, boys have it. Lexi and Kaden. Pulling in and up on the abdomen to remove an object causing choking is called the? Students watching? Anyone? Asa?
Heimlich maneuver.
Heimlich maneuver. No points for that one. So next girl and our next boy. Presley, you're up. Cadence, your turn. In rice, what does C stand for?
Compress.
Girls, next two. In rice, what does R stand for?
Rest.
Boys have it next two. In rice, what does E stand for?
Ice.
E. Students watching? Anyone? Adriana?
Elevate.
Elevate, right, next two. So Adriana and Aiden. In rice, what does I stand for?
Ice.
Ice, girls have it. In rice, Una and Asa. You should elevate above what?
Heart.
Girls have it next to Amaya and Jacob. What does compress mean?
To put pressure on it or wrap.
Good. Girls have it next to Madison and Carson. What is something important to remember about an electrical shock?
Don't touch the person.
Boys have it next to you. You're almost there. Tell me one thing to remember in an emergency situation.
Call 911.
Both of you are correct. Stay calm, call 911. Next to last question. Besides staying calm and calling 911, what could you do in an emergency situation?
Find an adult.
Yes, find an adult. Let's take a look at our score. It looks like the boys have 20, the boys have 22, and the girls have 27. So girls are winners this round. Well done. Take out your health book. Let's take a look at a couple important areas that you can look over before our test in our next lesson. So we're starting on page 56. Look at page 56. That is where the information for our next test begins. So we're looking at healthy habits and youth. There are some things here that you'll want to look over. Also on page 55. So look back again to 55, talking about food safety and food storage. And there's the temperatures that food should be stored between. Looking at page 56, those are some types of foods that you see there that need to be kept in the refrigerator, and thinking through how we prepare our food. On page 57, that comprehension checkup question box is very important. Let's look at pages 58 and 59. This talks about the spreading of that illness. So how sickness can be spread through somebody that's touching something, through a kiss, through a cough, through a sneeze. Those are ways that germs can be spread. They can be spread from your hands, your clothes, the surroundings, the air, and through the food that you eat. Now, on the next page, 59, just underneath the picture of the girl getting the bandage on her arm, the sentence in italics is very important. Most germs enter your body through your mouth, nose, and breaks in the skin. So those are the three ways that germs enter your body: through your mouth, through your nose, and breaks in the skin. It is very important on that page as well. It reminds us that when we're washing our hands, we can do so for 20 seconds. So that's where that information comes from. Washing your hands for 20 seconds is important. On page 60, you see a comprehension checkup box there at the bottom. Those are important questions to look through. Page 61 talks about some types of sicknesses and some of the signs that you're becoming sick and some of the things to watch for. Let's look at page 62 at the top. There's a follow these rules to restore health. I'm going to say the title and we'll read them together. Follow these rules to restore health. Class, drink a lot of liquids. Get plenty of rest. Eat nutritious foods. Well done. Several of these sentences here that are written in italics are very important. Let's take a look at page 63. This talks about how we can figure out when we have a virus or a bacteria and how we can treat that through our doctor's help. Let's look at page 64. On page 64, there's some things that we talked about that we can do to help our bodies when they're sick to become better, and some things we can do from even to prevent those sicknesses. Page 65, there are some common symptoms and some common sicknesses that you may have come across and some of those symptoms that you may recognize. Let's look at page 66. This one is the page that talks about Florence Nightingale and how she began that modern nursing profession that helps us recognize that personal hygiene is very important. Cleanliness we can do to take care of our body. On page 67, there you see another comprehension checkup box that's very important. Let's look at pages 68 and 69. This is where we started talking about our teeth and our hair and how we can take care of our teeth and our hair to practice good personal hygiene. Page 70 and 71, we finished talking about taking care of our teeth, then started talking about taking care of our eyes and our ears. These sentences that are written in italics are very important to remember. Let's look at page 72 and 73. There's some health habits that you can do to practice in public, remembering not to touch extra things more than we need to. And then on page 73, that comprehension checkup box is important. Let's look at page 74 and 75. This is where we started talking about first aid to the rescue. Look at those signs of infection. From reading through again that checklist, which one do you recognize as a sign of infection? Students watching? Morgan, give me one.
The skin around the wound becomes red and tender.
Yes, so that skin is red, there's swelling, and sometimes there's pus. Look at the top of page 75. This is RICE. Rest, ice, compress, and elevate. And then we talked about how to apply that with our situations there. Let's look at page 60 or 76 and 77. These are first aid emergencies where we talked about people becoming injured and what we can do to help out in those situations, how we can respond correctly. On page 77, there we talked about the Heimlich maneuver. And on page 77, we also talked about calling 911 and not touching those electrical shock victims or those people who might have suffered from that. On page 78, you see again the way that we can help someone who is unconscious using CPR. That would be for someone who is not conscious in a situation and they are not able to get the oxygen that they need and breathe properly, so CPR is the proper response in those situations. On page 78, also you see another comprehension checkup that is very important. So those things are things that you can look for as you start looking through those pages from 55 through 78. You'll want to take note of the bold print terms, the comprehension checkups, the sentences written in italics, those boxes that we went over that had things to look for or things to watch for are important. As you do so, you'll want to remember those things, continue to look over that information. We have our next test in our next lesson. So continue to look over those things so that you'll be ready for our test in our next lesson. Again, pages 55 through 78 here. You could read through this information yourself, or you could have someone ask you these questions so that you'll be ready for that test in our next lesson. is very important. Cleanliness is very important. Then we started talking about some things that we can do to take care of our body. On page 67, there you see another comprehension checkup box that's very important. Let's look at pages 68 and 69. This is where we started talking about our teeth and our hair and how we can take care of our teeth and our hair to practice good personal hygiene. Page 70 and 71, we finished talking about taking care of our teeth, then started talking about taking care of our eyes and our ears. These sentences that are written in italics are very important to remember. Let's look at page 72 and 73. There's some health habits that you can do to practice in public, remembering not to touch extra things more than we need to. And then on page 73, that comprehension checkup box is important. Let's look at page 74 and 75. This is where we started talking about first aid to the rescue. Look at those signs of infection. From reading through again that checklist, which one do you recognize as a sign of infection? Students watching? Morgan, give me one.
The skin around the wound becomes red and tender.
Yes, so that skin is red, there's swelling, and sometimes there's pus. Look at the top of page 75. This is RICE. Rest, ice, compress, and elevate. And then we talked about how to apply that with our situations there. Let's look at page 60 or 76 and 77. These are first aid emergencies where we talked about people becoming injured and what we can do to help out in those situations, how we can respond correctly. On page 77, there we talked about the Heimlich maneuver. And on page 77, we also talked about calling 911 and not touching those electrical shock victims or those people who might have suffered from that. On page 78, you see again the way that we can help someone who is unconscious using CPR. That would be for someone who is not conscious in a situation and they are not able to get the oxygen that they need and breathe properly, so CPR is the proper response in those situations. On page 78, also you see another comprehension checkup that is very important. So those things are things that you can look for as you start looking through those pages from 55 through 78. You'll want to take note of the bold print terms, the comprehension checkups, the sentences written in italics, those boxes that we went over that had things to look for, things to watch for are important. As you do so, you'll want to remember those things, continue to look over that information. We have our next test in our next lesson. So continue to look over those things so that you'll be ready for our test in our next lesson. Again, pages 55